Good afternoon, everybody, and I hope your week is going well. Things seem to fly nowadays. Time is just, we're already towards the end of September. It's kind of weird. And it's good. Enjoying nice weather. I like it. Today, I'd like to touch base on the second primitive reflex that we like to look at in our world. And this one is quite interesting because it impacts school learning, handwriting skills, things you would think, well, what are we doing with this? It's called the asymmetrical tonic neck reflex. This particular reflex develops while the baby is in utero at about 18 weeks of age and is present after birth and continues until about 6 months of age, where we expect it to be gone, integrated, not active, if you will. The importance of this neck reflex, especially in utero, it helps to develop muscle tone and stimulates the balance, the vestibular system. It helps the baby wiggle its way out of the birth canal, creates those movements. When the baby is born and is laying down, what you will see is when they're laying flat and the head's turned to the side, the neck receptors say, hey, head's turned to the side. This arm will stretch out, the same leg will stay straight, this side will contract, and the leg on this side will bend up. So it's almost like they're in a fencer pose. The cool thing about this is while they're like this, their head's turned that way, their eyes are looking at the hand. So this is part of the start of how do I look at something. It also helps to have the eyes turn in and look at an extension of a thing that's away. This is a fundamental reflex that helps for reaching, grasping, hand-eye coordination. And if it's still active past the 6 months of age, it will interfere with creeping, crawling, developing those motor skills. And for people who still have this active at a later age, they have a hard time with cross body movements. They can't get the right arm to work in time with the left leg or the opposite side. So marching and skipping is difficult. When I assess some of my younger patients, instead of skipping, what I see is galloping. They're staying on the same side. They can't cross over. How this translates into the classroom, well, if you can't cross the midline with your body, the same thing happens with the eyes. As you're tracking the words in a paragraph and you get to that midline, there's almost this like eye stutter. And then you keep going. Well, what will happen is you're in the middle of that sentence, words will get jumbled up. And then you have to pause and think about, what did I just read? That didn't make sense. You'll have poor handwriting skills. Or these a lot of times are the people who can verbalize their ideas really well. Thought to speech is awesome. You know the thought is in there. They're very smart people. Ask them to not verbalize it, but write it. Not so good. They have a hard time getting that eye-to-hand process to go. This also develops visual perceptual problems. How do I navigate my space, especially if I'm looking across? If this is still active, well, that means when you turn your neck, this will tend to want to happen. Well, a big activity where we tend to turn our neck a lot is driving. You're driving along and you have to check your blind spot. Well, this is what I'm going to want to do like this. And so a lot of times what you will see is the person who turns and they tend to swerve a little bit. Or you're the person walking with a friend and you happen to turn while you're still walking and you tend to turn in on the side that you happen to be looking. And you bump into things. Can't seem to keep it straight. The neck ties into the body and can't let go. It's kind of interesting how a small little thing trickles down to all sorts of everyday activities. So mull it over. Do you know anybody who tends to turn their head and they walk this way? or driving, they tend to swerve? Or are you the one that does it? Shoot me a comment. I'm interested to see. How does this work in the life of anybody, really? And how does it affect things? If you ever have any questions, feel free to email me or give me a call. Have a great day, everybody, and I hope the weekend's coming up, so I hope you have a good weekend. Bye-bye.